Hey guys, welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel today to check the episode out. And guys, today I want to have just a conversation, and we touch upon this occasionally on the channel, but I want to dig into this, not just bashing live scope or talking about live scope, but about how the sport of bass fishing it's just not the same anymore. It is simply not the same as it used to be when it was better. And I want to explain in detail the reasons why that is and how it's been unnecessary to reach the point that we are right now, and sort of give you guys a little bit of a history lesson in the past on what I'm talking about in comparing it to the current state of it. So we're going to dig into that in today's episode, and definitely look forward to hearing your guys' comments on that too. Also, guys, two quick reminders before we get started. Just want to remind everybody, guys, if you are looking for an awesome freaking pair of sunglasses for summer fishing, check out my signature series, guys, Solar Bass, my RB2s and RB3s. We got them in 3 different frame colors. We got the matte gray here. We've got black. We've got some tan colors. The optical clarity, guys, on these Solar Bats are second to none. The company is owned, and the glasses are designed by Dr. Gary Nesty, who's an optometrist and a bass fisherman. You guys will not be disappointed in these. So I'll put these in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of the video if you guys are interested in getting some there. And you can also get them at the Solar Bat link in the description of the video. And one final thing real quick, guys, you've heard me talking about this. In celebration of our country's 250th anniversary, Cast King has got this Royale Legend Patriot Series rod and reel available right now through the Cast King link. 7-foot 3-inch bait cast rod on here. It's got the Royal Legend reel on it. This color also comes, they offer a spinning outfit in the same combo here. So if you guys would like to get one of the Patriot series that are just available, for next month or so, I'll have the Cast King link in the description of this video. And also, if you use my promo code Randy10, you get an additional discount on this outfit. So really appreciate that. Okay, and I do appreciate you guys putting up with the plugs for sure. Okay, this is one topic that we touch upon quite a bit here on Intuitive Angling because, guys, I just do not like the direction the sport's headed from. It's just not the same as it used to be. And I'm not saying that because I'm just some old geezer stuck in the past. I'm talking about it from about every metric that you can measure fishing by. It's just not like it was. It's not as good as what it was. And there's some reasons for that I want to dig into in today's video. First of all, a lot of people say that, oh, Randy, progress, you can't stop progress, and things change, and you can't stop change. That may be true about some things, but it's not true about everything, and this is one of them. Every reason, you can trace every one of these reasons that I'm going to talk about in today's video about why bass fishing is not the same as it used to be in a bad sense. It has not, improved whatsoever, and the sport has been degraded. It's the fact that you have got normally one or group of individuals that are out to make a buck. And they force this change upon everybody because they're trying to make a buck. They're trying to make something bigger. In their minds, maybe better, but it's not better just because it's bigger. And this is sort of one problem that we do have in this country right now. We have such a pro-growth mentality in the United States that people can't see how destructive this pro-growth mentality is because you can't have unchecked growth. It's no different than a cancer cell. If you have unchecked growth as far as development or environmental degradation or getting bigger and bigger and bigger, more, that's sort of the mentality we have. It's not going to wind up good because you get in a position where it's unsustainable. And this really hit home to me hard, guys. I talked about this before, but I went to a zoning and planning meeting, commission meeting here in Springfield, Missouri. And I've talked about this before, but I just want to reiterate what it was about. There was this developer that wanted to put in a commercial development in a really pristine type of a nature area here in Springfield that had Clydesdale horse farms, all that, just beautiful area. And this developer wanted to come in there and put commercial development in there. The outrage from the local residents was overwhelming. They stood up at the meeting, including myself. We voiced our opposition to it. We laid out facts. We laid out a incredible argument with it. And the developer basically got up there and said, I don't care. I bought this property. I want to do what I want to with it. So the freaking Zoning and Planning Commission sides with the developer against the public opposition, once again, because they have this this toxic pro-growth mentality at all costs. Money, 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 bigger, bigger, bigger. Who knows what type of kickbacks they're getting from campaign donations? I don't know. But anyway, that's a microcosm of what's going on here with the sport. We have entered a phase in bass fishing here where everything has gotten so big and so complicated that it is taken away from the sport of bass fishing. And that's what I want to talk about in today's video, about how it's not good right now. The sport of bass fishing is not in a good place whatsoever, simply because it's gotten so big here. Okay, now let me roll back in history a little bit and explain to you guys what I'm talking about, how we got from here to there. Back, and I keep saying this, but back 30, 40, 50 years ago, when you look at bass fishing, you had a situation where there's two different realms of it. You've got the tournament realm and you've got the recreational angler realm of it. First of all, there wasn't as many anglers at all. I mean, there wasn't as many recreational anglers, there wasn't as many tournament anglers, there wasn't as many tournaments, all that type of stuff. We have seen an explosion in this as far as the increase in the number of anglers and the increase in the number of tournaments on the lake. And one of the things about tournament fishing, this is what a lot of people have to understand that do not fish tournaments, because I know that a lot of my audience is not interested in tournaments, and that's great. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But one of the things that people that are not into the tournament world have to realize is the tournament world, it is the impetus, and it provides such a huge factor for bass fishing across the country and other realms, as far as techniques, trends, all that type of stuff. So even if you don't fish tournaments, you are still affected by bass tournaments, simply because that's what drives the industry. That's where a lot of the money's at, and that's where a lot of the that's where sort of the foundation of it in the United States with bass fishing. It comes from the tournament realm and expands out into other areas. So back before, it's like you had this simplicity. In other words, the equipment was more simple. The approaches were more simple. The number of tournaments and the tournament formats were more simple. And now, if you fast forward to 30 years from now, where we're at right now, everything has just gotten too big. There are way too many tournaments. There are way too many tournament anglers. There's way too many anglers fishing. And as a result, everything gets degraded. Now, how it has degraded like the tournament world is the fact that it's harder than ever for anglers to make a living at it, because everybody's a pro. There's only so much sponsorship dollars to go around. Number one. Number two is the fact that there is so much competition out there in tournament anglers, nobody can stand out above anyone else. You may have like a handful of people, like Jacob Wheeler, somebody like that, but ultimately, since you have more circuits and more tournaments, nobody can rise to the top. And when nobody can rise to the top and show excellence in a true bass fishing sense, and I'm not talking about using the cheater box, because that's not real bass fishing. I'm talking about you can't see excellence rise to the top with so many anglers out there, because the competition level waters it down. Therefore, we have entered a phase right now where we're not going to have any more legends in the sport until that technology and the complex system we've entered is taken out of there. All the guys like Guido Hibden and Larry Nixon and Denny Brower and Roland Martin and Bill Dance, all the legends in the sport, you're never going to see that anymore, because there are so many tournament anglers out there, and there's so many tournament anglers that have risen through success through technology that they're literally a dime a dozen. They're like a herd of cows out there, and therefore nobody can rise to the level of legend status like that. They can't do it, because as soon as somebody has a little hot streak or a roll, there's another 20-year-old college kid that comes up that can use LiveScope better, and they get on a roll. And it's a never-ending vicious cycle. So you don't have these personalities of the true professionals emerging anymore. That's one of the reasons, from a tournament perspective, that the sport is worse off than it's ever been before. Now, from the recreational standpoint, just fun fishing out there, the fishing pressure has completely changed everything about bass fishing, because traditional techniques and traditional areas where those fish used to live in where people could go out and catch fish. They just don't exist like they used to anymore. Fishing, even on a recreational level, if you're fishing a public body of water, if you don't have some type of advanced technology, it's hard to catch fish. Guys, you can't hardly just go out there anymore and just throw a plastic worm down the bank or on points like you used to and have any success doing it. Those fish have wised up to that. Not only have they wised up to that, but they have gotten less and less. There's just less of them because as there's more anglers on the water, there's more people keeping and eating bass. There's more bass, dying of delayed mortality. There's a lot of problems and issues that are associated with that. Another reason why we have a big problem right now, guys, is we have this problem we have with overdevelopment in this country is it's affecting bass fishing as well. I mean, we're losing habitat, wildlife habitat. I talk about this a lot on an alarming rate in this country just because of what I'm talking about with those freaking zoning and planning commissioners, guys, that don't give a crap. They don't give a crap, guys. If you've got a 500-acre section of land that's full of deer and turkey and, bobcats and foxes, they don't think twice about bulldozing that thing down and putting an industrial park in there or an AI data center. These people are short-sighted, just freaking, I could cuss them out right now, but I'm just saying they're just short-sighted, inept people in positions of power is what it is. That's the only way you can put it. 90% of the zoning and planning commissioners I have ever had any contact with are the most inept, unqualified, greedy bastards I have ever seen in my life. That's a whole nother topic we get into. But anyway, this unchecked development is beginning to affect our waterways because our waters are more polluted than they've ever been. We have more mercury contamination. We have more nutrient overload. We have more, point source pollution. We have more crap and shit entering our waters and rivers across the country than ever. Not only because there's more people fishing, but we have politicians in positions of power that dismantle and deregulate industry to pollute at will. Because what happens is when you are a politician that has no integrity whatsoever and everything's about power and money, you don't give a crap about bass fishing. All you want to do is side with some company that says, okay, if you deregulate this emission standard where I can make, $500 million more profit a year, but I'm going to pollute the water that you're fishing, then, I'm going to give you a campaign kickback. That's what they do. That's the reality of the situation. We have a political structure in place in this country right now that is completely in bed with big corporations and are polluting our air and water. If you don't believe me, guys, I will provide you with the facts and I will provide you with the receipts on it to show you how and who and everything that's involved with that. So that's one big issue with it there. But the main thing, guys, is it's not what it used to be because we have lost the simplicity of the sport. We have lost the fact where you go out bass fishing, you tie on a plastic worm, you're out there with your buddy, you don't know what's out there, you pull up to this point, you don't know what's there. We used to be able to just throw that worm up on that point, and if you catch one, awesome, but now you don't have that. It's like you don't have that simplicity in bass fishing. And let me end you guys with what I'm talking about here, and I've talked about this before, but it's such a perfect example if you've never heard of it, exactly what I'm talking about, how bigger and better and growing and progress and all that type of stuff, it's not for the best. And you can equate this directly to fishing. I've talked about this before. Bear with me if you guys have heard this before, but a lot of people haven't because we're getting thousands of new members or subscribers every month on the channel. I used to bowl at a bowling alley called 4th Street Bowl in Joplin, Missouri when I was a kid. I was in junior leagues there ever since I was like 10 years old. And when I got about 12 or 13 years old, my dad bowled in the men's league there, and I kept score for his team. And back then, the 4th Street Bowling Alley in Joplin, Missouri, it had 16 lanes in it. And it was so cool because this place, you walked into it, and it's like you step back in time. It's like the attention to detail and the atmosphere was thick with nostalgia. You had like a bunch of black and white photos up on the wall everywhere about guys bowling back in the 50s, and they got the hair slicked back, and they got the little thin belts on, and they got khaki pants. Everybody's dressed really nice. They got tucked in white shirts. they have a bar there, and this bar, it's like you walk into like a 1930s bar, and there's like old pictures up on the wall. World War II veterans in there having a beer after they get done bowling. The seats in the thing were like really cool wooden seats. But the point of what I'm talking about is this little 16-lane bowling alley was just thick with atmosphere and character, and just, it was like so cool to go in there. Okay, so what happens in the mid-1970s, once I got, into high school, the people that owned the bowling alley thought, oh, we're going to expand. So they expanded the bowling alley from 16 lanes to 40 lanes. And when they did this expansion, they totally did a remodel on the place. And now, instead of like this super cool heritage atmosphere thick place we had since the 1950s there, they put in this basically like this freaking circus in there. 40 lanes, everything, all the wood was ripped out, replaced by plastic seats. You had all these bright colors all over the walls. You had pinball machines, you had foosball machines, you had pool tables, you had, just, it looked like a dang circus in there. And, it got big. There's 40 lanes. So now, instead of this character of 16 lanes, you got this 40-lane monstrosity, and you walk in there, and it looks like you're going to some kid's amusement park. I have never been so disappointed in my life. It's like they got bigger. Somebody had something in mind. Oh, we want to get bigger and better. But in retrospect, they destroyed everything. They literally destroyed everything by doing that remodel to that bowling alley. Now, if they wanted to expand, they could have made another bowling alley in town and made it like it was before with the atmosphere in it. But instead, they chose to go to this modern look, and it completely destroyed it. And that's the same thing that we see in bass fishing right now. We have taken a sport that was nothing wrong with it whatsoever, and we have tried to grow it and build it and make more money off it to the point where now it has been screwed. And again, you look back at all of it. You look back at the bowling alley I talked about. You look back at the tournaments. You look back at the fishing. It is motivated by one thing and one thing only. That is money. Money corrupts everything, guys. I say this all the time on my channel. Money corrupts everything. You can trace any corruption back to money. Money and power in every aspect of our life, politics, business, everything out there is no good whatsoever. And when you have a situation that's working, like the way that bass fishing was in this country back in the 70s and 80s, there wasn't nothing wrong with it. It was magical. It was wonderful. It was simple. There was no chaos or controversy or division in the sport, nothing. And now it's a freaking shit show. Bass fishing in this country, especially tournament fishing, is a shit show. And it's all because a handful of people in this industry decided they want to make it bigger, 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 make more, 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 grow it, grow it, grow it. And as a result, it's just like an unchecked cancer. It winds up killing the body that it's in. And that's what we're seeing in fishing right now. And until we get back to a place of simplicity in this sport and simplicity in our lives and the everyday daily life, we're going to continue to lose all the things that have been valuable in the past, like that bowling alley I'm talking about, like the sport of bass fishing I'm talking about. You cannot ever underestimate the power and the value of simplicity. Simplicity and everything that is connected to it is so precious, and we're losing that at an alarming rate because of greed and power and money. People that have positions of power and use it in an inept, unethical way. It's rampant right now in our country. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. We'll talk later.